done better. This is a poem called Elon Musk's Community Garden. We all stood waiting expectantly in line, hoping that we'd be the ones chosen to be sent into the sky. The queue that we were in was the biggest that I've ever seen, but then again I've never bought an iPhone on the day of its release. Then up turned God in his electric car, already high before we'd reached the stars. The excitement built and everybody cheered. Some dropped to their knees, others burst into tears. And he stood on the plinth and pulled off the cloth from the rocket stood there waiting to take off. And I wasn't impressed, as you'd probably guessed. I couldn't stand the way he was probably dressed. Yes, you might be about to sod off to space, but please show some respect. This is the funeral of the bastard human race. And when I say bastard, I don't say it lightly. There is no bearded father up there almighty. We're just a bunch of stupid children who put our trust in a dickhead in America called Elon Musk. Breathing the air felt like drinking a noxious potion. I'd rather down a pint of the rising ocean. And I turned to my right and I wasn't joking when I said to the fellow would be healthier smoking. It's alright, he said, we'll soon be free. We'll leave behind the toxic air and the plastic seas. He's taking us to Mars. You can have a fresh start, like when you moved to Berlin trying to sell your art. And I coughed and he sneezed and we both reminisced, nostalgic for hay fever and old-fashioned capitalists. They only wanted our money, our freedom and our time, and sometimes they were even convicted for their crimes. Although who am I to question their impunity? I should be more grateful for this fine opportunity. Did anybody hear if they're actually going to pay us? Should I have waited until tomorrow? Should have gone with Jeff Bezos? I asked Alexa, but she was run off her feet, harvesting the last bits of data before we leave. And when no one was looking, she asked me to lean in and said, please, keep this to yourself, I need to tell you something. The Internet of Things was only the start. Cities became segregated. I'm sorry, I mean smart. Then they got the claws into healthcare and education. They peeled away democracy nation by nation. Netflix became a hobby, YouTubing a sport. Leave your comments below, #critical thought. Apps controlled minds and washing machines. Like to travel? Swipe right, it's a girl of your dreams. And speaking of dreams, the line started moving and I could already feel my quality of life improving. And a bloke pushed in and I got annoyed and I said, I hope you're crushed by an asteroid. And I got to the front and the bouncer roughed me up and he winked at me and said, it looks to me like you've had enough. And then he finally let me through the gates. And the first thing that I did was text all my dead mates. I wrote my name and I scratched my age on an iPad and then I apologised to that lad and he said, can you chronologically list your qualifications and unpoetically state your aspirations? And so I explained how I got a master's degree and how I'm technically not an architect, not really, but I recently developed a passion for trees, probably from listening to Pulp or perhaps from David Hockney. Do you remember what they look like, them big lumps of wood with green sticking out the top of them? They were really fucking good. He said, oh, you're a botanist. That's exactly what we need. I said, you're absolutely right, pal. Book me a seat. He did. 57F, the very back row. He said I'd enjoy it there because I could smell the engine smoke. And he was right, because in spacesuits there's nothing to smell apart from your own breath, which with my teeth, well... As we passed the moon, Jeff Bezos passed us. His pilot was pissing in a bottle and it caused quite a fuss. In the silence of space, you could hear the breaking hearts and the sobs of the astrologers ripping up their charts. And I made a joke about vegan food, which was tasteless and further brought down the mood. The joke, on the other hand, was well received if the comments on Twitter were to be believed. The journey was smooth. We were longing for a bump, and I was bored out my mind in less than a month. The incest had started, but I was not involved. All my family had already dissolved in the carbon atmosphere that we'd left behind. Nah, I can handle barren spells, I'm sure I'll be fine. Plus, I was determined to remain chlamydia-free. I'd heard there's a Martianette waiting for me. They say they're tall and they're skinny with gorgeous tans, and having only met Elon, have low expectations for a man. Although, I would have competition according to the rest of the people around me. Apparently humanity's best, but if these lot on board are the creme de la creme, I must be lactose intolerant because I'm sickened by them. Bragging about wealth and power and who won what war, these people aren't the solution of the fucking cause. Yet we rebuilt societies around cancerous cells, and then we pretended to be surprised when it turned out to be hell. And all of us before we'd even touched down on the fire-red surface of a new home ground. And it looked nothing like the artist's impression, more like Middlesbrough, post-recession. No indoor parks under big glass domes, nor affluent families in generously proportioned homes. It was just rows of dirty tents and weird grubby-looking men. It was like Sunday at Glastonbury on a rainy weekend. And the ambassador greeted us on the endless beach. He stood on a big rock and gave a lengthy speech. You'll all get what you were promised. We just need to terraform first, and that should only take about 2,000 years. But welcome to paradise. I'm so glad you could come. It'll grow on you. No need to look so glum. I said, I'll look how I want. He said, that's not the case. You belong to Elon now. You'll do as he says. So what does he say? Do we just stand and wait? Oh, you're the botanist, right? You handed me a rake. I don't play golf, but thank you very much. That's most generous of you, pal. A lovely touch. Then I realised that this was no place to joke, nor a place to cling to any hope, and it turned out that the future was just a faraway past, on a brand new world just the same as the last. And stood on Mars with a rake in my hand, I asked, what's going on? I don't understand. He said, work sets you free. I said, I beg your pardon, and every day since I've worked in Elon Musk's community garden.